Well, hello everyone. I'm sure some of you are happy to see I'm wearing makeup today. Uh, no lie, I look prettier when I wear makeup, but I don't always feel like putting it on. And the last video I made where I was speaking, it was right before bed, and I wasn't going to put on makeup for that. But I definitely needed to say what I said because I spent a good portion of Saturday dealing with all the rude comments that people were leaving because they didn't like my video about the bishop in Washington, D.C. I don't understand why people feel like they need to chime in on things like this. Like, I really don't give a crap if you don't agree with me. Like I said, this is just a channel for me to express myself. I don't expect everybody to agree with me. I do expect basic civility, but I often don't get it. And I knew kind of when I made that video about how Trump wasn't the head of the church. And he's not. I mean, that was Bishop Buddy's cathedral. And she had every right to do what she did. She had every right to call him to, and she did it very gently too, I think, and very empathically. It boggles my mind that we have so many people that are calling her rude. Rude, because like any good pastor, she is reminding people that there are folks out there who are scared right now and are needing some mercy and kindness, and any decent leader would listen to what she said, at least, and at the very least be diplomatic about it. But of course, Trump, being the man baby that he is, has just melted down and is acting like his typical self, only magnified because he's older now, and I think perhaps not as mentally acute as he once was. In any case, this has been a really weird week, and if you've been watching my videos, you know that I'm over 50. So I'm going to be 53 in a few months. So I've been through some presidents. I was born during the Nixon era. And so let's see, there was Nixon and Ford and Carter. And most of my childhood was spent with Reagan. And then Bush 1. And then Clinton. And then Bush 2. And then Obama. And then Trump. And then Biden, and now we've got Trump again. And as I've mentioned before, for most of my adult life, I would say probably until the Bush 2 era, I voted Republican pretty much. And that's mainly because I grew up in a small town in Virginia, and everybody around there voted Republican. My family is very Republican for the most part. And the small town where I grew up was very Republican. And then I went away. I left the country for a couple of years, and my views started to change. And then when I came back, after a couple of years after I was in the Peace Corps, I went to graduate school, and it was a double master's program in South Carolina, also a very red state. And when I was there, they still had the Confederate flag on top of the State House. And I actually lived in an apartment building on the campus at the University of South Carolina. I actually watched from my window and on CNN at the same time as they were taking that flag down off the dome of the State House. I was more liberal then, but still not really sold on the idea of liberalism. I think that it was W that really kind of did it for me in terms of changing my opinions. But even then, I didn't vote for Democrats. Usually I would vote for third parties. It was Trump that swung me more to the left. And that's because I just cannot abide his cruelty. And I can't abide the way he behaves. He acts like a lunatic. I don't think what he's doing is strong. In fact, Bishop Buddy pretty much took him down, didn't she? She kind of showed what a weak person he is. Yeah, he's got power. He's got more power than anybody right now. But she still got to him. Here she is, a tiny 64-year-old woman with a very soft voice. And she stood from her pulpit and spoke to him for maybe 2 minutes, if that. And that was enough for him to melt down. And it was enough for his followers to melt down, so much so that I had people insulting me and insulting her on my channel and thinking I was going to let that stand. I actually wrote an email to the bishop yesterday. I think yesterday was Sunday. So I think I did. It was after I made that video where I basically yelled at people. I was still feeling like I wanted to say something. So I wrote the bishop an email. And I don't know that she will read it. I'm sure she's being inundated with emails right now. I'm sure that many of them are people who are angry and complaining. And she's also getting some that were more like what I wrote, which was how much I admire her and how brave I think she is. And I'm not a very Christian person, but I truly hope the Lord is watching her and protecting her. But she seems like a very peaceful, kind, decent person. I'll tell you what, I found another YouTuber too last night. I was sitting by myself because my husband's away. And I found Reverend Ed Trevors, I believe is his name. And he's a bearded guy from Nova Scotia, works for the Episcopalian Church, I believe. And I found him to be very wise and comforting. I liked what he had to say. I agreed with what he had to say. And I found myself subscribing to his channel, even though I really don't go to church anymore. And I think that if I found pastors that spoke about acting like Christ did, as both the Bishop Buddy did and this man Ed Trevors did, Ed Trevors, I might go back to church for that. Here, where I live, churches are generally in German, so can't really, and I don't really speak fluent German. I can understand some of it, but I can't really speak it too well. Maybe it would be good for me to go to church, so I might bond with my neighbors more, rather than just over wine like we do at the wine stands in the warmer months. And I do worry a lot about the relationship that we might have, thanks to Donald Trump. But if anybody understands leaders like Trump, it's the Germans. So hopefully they will be patient and they realize that Donald Trump is not going to last forever, even if he somehow manages to convince anyone to let him run for a third term. He's an old man and he's not well, and he will die someday. So that's kind of, in a way, that's what keeps me going for now. But it's a struggle. When you have depression and you have anxiety and you've already lived probably half your life, it's easy to fall into that hole. And I'm struggling to stay out of it. So that's about all I have to say right now. And if you made it to the end of the video, thank you very much for listening. And I will make an attempt to at least try to put on makeup for most of my videos. See you next time.